Uplift Vineyards in the beautiful Burnett County. We're standing in the Merlot block. We just got some rain here and down south in the Pedernales River Basin. We are also super lucky. So it rained maybe 2 inches in Mason last night. I think it rained almost an inch and high last night. But because this long mountain behind us, it always breaks up the rain, and we got 1/10 of rain. We don't want rain before harvest for a couple of reasons. One, it can fill the berries up with water. We've also had a very rainy spring, which has been good in many ways. The rain is actually really good for the vines. It helps percolate any salts. It really gives the vines a good drink. It's almost more effective to have rain than to have irrigated water. The bad part about rain at harvest is potentially we'll split berries. We're gonna grow canopy. The moisture inside the cluster gives it a higher propensity to rot. We had a big issue in the Mourvedre this year. The grapes actually, and this isn't Mourvedre, but I can kind of show you, the grapes down here were so tight that they actually released off the pedicel, which, and then they just started to rot on the bottom, which is not good. So we actually had to rattle off some of that fruit, which wasn't a perfect solution, but it ended up working fairly well. We'll see if we can bring in the block. This is Merlot. We're probably 4 days away from picking. It's probably 22.5 bricks. The pH is about 3.4. You can tell by tasting it. It's chewing on the skin. And look at the seeds. They're starting to become crunchy. Pretty tasty. You still get a little pepperiness out of this. This is getting pretty damn close to getting ripe. We're about to head to the high plains in a little bit. We just wanted to take a quick look at everything and make sure we're getting proper methodology done in the vineyard and everything we can do to give this fruit the best chance for success. Texas. This is, I guess, right outside of the city limits.
Yeah, it's actually like 200 yards over there is the city limit.
We're standing in the Mourvedre block. We're going right through Veraisian, totally different terroir than what we were in this morning. I think, you know, this is high elevation. We're at 30, what are we talking? Just
3,600 feet.
3,600 feet. It is in the middle of the day. It's probably 80.
Just turned 80. I think we looked this while ago.
It was 55 degrees this morning. So obviously we're getting a great diurnal shift, which means cold at night, hot days, which definitely the elevation helps. This Mourvedre block is way behind the Mourvedre block we were just in this morning. This is looking at potentially October.
Oh yeah, I think it'll be the last week of September, but probably first week October.
So Andy and I, we quickly just became just great friends, and I'm so blessed because that's where I met my partner now, Andrew Sides, in the vineyard, you know, in probably 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
Andy was always one of the most innovative high plains growers. He was the first guy to put wind machines up in the high plains. We worked on hail netting early on. How many hails has this vineyard taken this year?
Five or six, yeah. There's never an average year. It's always the difference between the two extremes, right?
Yep.
One year we may get 30 inches of rain, the next 5, right? That's how you get the 17 inches or whatever.
The more time we can spend here working together and partnering, the better the end quality of the wine is going to be. All of these folks, you know, say, oh, you guys make great wine, but it doesn't come from making great wine. It comes from growing great grapes and making great decisions. And like Andy was saying earlier, like those picking decisions are super important because those windows are so small, and it's not fair, and it's bullshit. And I see it every year that a winery doesn't even come here, a winemaker doesn't even come here and, you know, just orders a pick and then bitches about the fruit later. And that's bullshit, man. I mean, like, if you make the picking call, that's yours.
We're here in the middle of Lapradaire Vineyards, and we're actually in the same variety that Chris and I were in Lubbock County in my home. And the soil down here is completely different than it is up there. There's a lot more sand. The soil is a little bit more reddish. If you kick it and pull it up and put it up your hand, it'll be red. That's because of all the iron in the soil. There's a lot more variability in the soil type on La Pradera than there is at Timmins Estate Vineyard. And if you look down the rows, as you go down these rows, the soil gets deeper and the vines are going to get taller. We would have liked to have had a little more growth out of these vines and maybe make them a little bit taller. But you know, you kind of get what Mother Nature gives you. But we're very blessed. We got a little rain last night that's going to help keep these things pushing through. These are Mourvedre, if you want to be the correct way to say it. That's the same variety we were looking at my house. We're liking these berries. Are really small this year, even though we've had quite a bit of rain. So we're excited to, you know, in the next 6 weeks to maybe even 8 weeks, possibly, depending on the weather, being here harvesting this.
Andrew Sides, co-founder of Lost Straw Cellars and current COO of Winemakers Wine Company. Manage all production and vineyard operations for the entire company across all 5 brands. We're about 2/3 of our way through this day. We started at Hoover Valley in the Hill Country, and this is a pretty typical day. If we get a free day, we love to cover as much ground as possible. So we started in the Hill Country, checked a bunch of blocks there, and then now we're in the High Plains at La Pradera. We farm about 90 different blocks, which is actually down from previous years. We're really trying to pare that down. We'll cover about probably 40 blocks today out of the 90 that we're going to farm. And so we'll obviously come back, and we like to go through these periodically as we get closer to harvest. We're really out today checking crop load more than anything. Everything's pretty far away from harvest. We're quite a bit farther behind than we were like last year.
If you could imagine the difficulty managing 90 different blocks and the production off those 90 different blocks, if you're plus or minus 20%, it could, you know, we crushed 900 to maybe 1,000 tons this year. So when you look at all those different blocks and managing what wines and programs are going to go into, that's also a big part of Andrew's specialty. He's, in addition to being my voice of reason, because sometimes they call me the hurricane, and because I'm always whirlwinding around, and Andrew is my sounding board, as well as Bill. And Andrew is definitely the cooler head of all of us, I think, sometimes.
It's always a balance. You get out here and you see different things, and it's always good to have different opinions. We're taking notes. We'll take notes this time, and next time we see a block, and we kind of compare those throughout things. And we don't ever try to build a wine in the vineyard. We're very much like have the philosophy that, you know, we take the best grapes and we do the farming first, and a lot of the winemaking comes secondary. We'll take what we see today and go back and really start to formulate that plan and get ready, and then we translate it to the winery team, and it's a whole process. But it all starts out here and in the dirt, and it's the funnest part about this job is being here. At our last stop of the day, this is the Crooks House Vineyard. It is actually farmed by the Farmhouse Vineyards team. They have about 100 acres out here in the High Plains and do a really, really good job of farming. We put a lot of stake in making these relationships with farmers that are out here that have been doing it for a really long time. They've been farming for generations. We view our farmers as partners and guys that we work with throughout the year on making decisions on different crop loads for different things, and even like varietal selection for when we start planting. A big thing to like be able to come out here, partner with these guys, and really develop a relationship that's so important for just lasting for years and years. It's been a pleasure to work with these guys over the years, and they produce some really, really great fruit that you'll taste in some wines coming up soon.
We're sitting in the Crooks House block over here with the boys from Farmhouse. They do a great job. We've been buying Mourvedre, I don't know, man, for probably 6 years.
This will be 6 year, yeah, number 6.
6th vintage. We've been growing together for a while, and it's pretty awesome to see the western edge of Terry County. Earlier today, we were in the southern side of Terry County, and the fruit tastes totally different here than it does down there. But I also think that Nick and Anthony are probably some of the most progressive farmers. You know, these guys have always been ahead of the curve. Some of the first to put wind machines. They're going to put hail netting up next year. I know it. Yeah, we had a tough year last year, so it made hail netting a little harder. But
we're working on it. We're actually going to be implementing that over the next probably several vintages. It's
you don't have to put it on everybody else's blocks,
right,
just on ours.
Yeah.
Just sell more watermelons, man. Come on.
That's it. We've started using sheep, not particularly just for the vineyard. That's an added bonus. We're really looking at our whole approach to agriculture. The way that agriculture used to be, at least in our eyes, is changing. It's constantly evolving. We can't farm the way my dad or our parents used to. And what we're finding is that bringing in animals into the vineyard, onto the farms, is bringing a regenerative agriculture. That's kind of a buzzword right now. There's a lot of substance to it. It actually really works. You bring the animals out here, they eat the weeds, they stimulate the microbes and the roots of everything around, right? So you always hear about the word terroir, and that's just, to a lot of people, that's just a silly French name, but it really has a really cool meaning. I mean, it means everything encompassing around the vineyard, and the sheep play a part into that.
They obviously eat the weeds and drop off good microbes for the soil.
They compost back into the soil, and they did leaf pulling that probably would have cost us about $1,000 an acre. We were able to time that up.
Things like this are super progressive in our industry, and we got to try what works and see these long-term lasting effects, and you're getting to taste it in the bottle